Alright, this is an extra set of carburetors that I have, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and disassemble them, clean them up, and rebuild them, and then I'm going to make sure that I powder coat the exterior of them, and we're going to go ahead and see if we can get this set sold on an eBay auction. This is the set of carburetors that I have been working on off and on the last month or so, and as you can see, I've done some sandblasting and I've gone ahead and soaked it in carburetor cleaner. What I am going to go ahead and do is I'm going to use soda blasting now that I have a decent compressor, and I'm going to see if I can actually polish these things just before I send them to powder coating also.
Yeah.
Push the button again.
Oh,
And I'm afraid that it's been on too long, because not only is it brittle, I cleaned it up, but it's very brittle, so when you actually join the two pieces of metal and compress it, it's not going to be effective because there's no give to it. So I have to put a new gasket in. To go ahead and really put the heart of the motorcycle together. So revisiting this is a powder coated carburetor that was done almost 8 months ago, and it's now time to rebuild it. So I will be rebuilding it in steps and stages so that we can see exactly how to do this. First step is I'm going to take the tops and the bottoms off, and then I'm going to start putting components in here. Holds the float has been also removed. This is where the cap goes. This is where the bowl goes, and in here we are going to be putting in the main jet. And this is the main jet. It's been thoroughly cleaned, and that's really important for performance. What I use is I have a little instrument that has a number of very thin wires that have little rough edges on it. They're very good for cleaning this type of this type of carburetor piece. I have these very thin wire rods that have little ridges on them, and they're excellent for cleaning these carburetor pieces. So in the base of the carburetor throat, way down here, is where the main jet's going to go, and it's going to be placed this way in there, so that this piece is the one that will protrude, and you'll see that it's scored, so there's only one way that it can really go down in the throat, because you'll see that there's a little guiding brass pin down there. It's in place, and you can see that it is seated, and if you look on the bottom part, you can see where it went right through the guide and is in its place. Next, we're going to put one of the gas needles in. Alright, so this is the gas needle that was removed from this particular carburetor. As you can see, there's a little guide over here where we will actually seat the rubber part into the throat of the carburetor, and the gas needle will go into the main jet. Alright, so the needle's in place, the gasket's in place. Let's see. As you can see, the needle went straight into the main jet, and what we will do is put the top on with the spring in place. Well, as you can see, the next cleaned item to go in is this little pilot jet, and he goes right in here. I cannot stress enough, when taking him out or trying to take him out, you need to be absolutely sure that your screwdriver fits completely into here and really push down. If you destroy the thread on this guy, you may as well throw your carburetor out, because he's a bear to get out. Okay. Next we're going to work on the floats, float adjustment, and the gas needle and the idle screw, and the little cap that goes into here. Pistons have been added to all 4 of the carburetors and the main jets. I'm going to test to make sure that pistons come back. That's the first test. Next, we're going to go ahead and install all the hardware on the bottom here, and we're going to go ahead and adjust the float. Okay, next we're going to put this plunger into the side body of the carburetor, and one of the things we want to do is make sure that the spring moves freely on this axle, and what we're going to do is just put a little bit of oil on here so that the parts are moving well. The piece will actually go into the carburetor in this position. All of these in all 4 carburetors, but we're going to go in detail to do a single build, and then all the rest will just fall in line. Okay, so this guy has been installed, and do make sure that you can pull the plunger out easily and work it back and forth. Next we're going to install the main jet, which will go right here. We're also going to have a main jet washer, which is this guy here. So we put the main jet washer in here, like so, and then the main jet goes here, so it also holds the assembly that we put in that holds the main gas needle in place. Important is that you get every little hole clear and it's real clean. So what I do is to confirm it, I blow carburetor cleaner through it, and I then blow a compressed air of 110 psi to make absolutely sure there's nothing in it. And it goes in this hole here. Alright, so we're now going to put the gas needle in, and what we need to do is make sure these pieces are clean, make sure the screen is clean, because this screen goes on the bottom part of the container that holds the gas needle, which is the gas needle, and then what we'll do is we'll secure it in place with this bracket and the screw. This is what it looks like when it's all in place. So again, there's a screen that's placed on the bottom of the container that will hold the gas needle. Then we put this screw with the bracket that holds the item in place, and then simply we are going to be inserting the gas needle thus, and that would complete that part of the operation. Insert it in there, and then we will take, we can put the gas needle in there. Of course they're matching sets, and then we will take this and screw it down in so that we secure the gas needle assembly. Next is putting the float on, and what we do is we have our float, and we're just going to put it on like this, and then we have a pin, and we're going to put the pin straight through here, and once the pin is in, the float will look like this. The float adjustment will be after this. Okay, float calibration is really this particular point, how it's adjusted with the gas needle inside. It is, according to the book, supposed to be between 21 and 24 or 23, so 22.4 exact from here to top, from here to top, from here to top. So I'd like to hit my numbers right on the nose. This is the float adjustment, after which we just put the gasket. We put the gasket, and we put the float bulb on it, tighten it up, and then we'll be ready to assemble all of these carburetors into one unit. Alright, so here we have the final assembly. A couple of things to remember is, since we went ahead and rebuilt the carburetors, one of the things we want to do is make sure that the float level is adjusted properly. For that, we are going to be using this tube in the bottom part of the carburetor bowl, and as you can see, there's little graduated marks here to measure the fuel level. The other thing we are going to do is we are going to be putting this T into the carburetor, and we're going to fill this part here up with fuel, and it'll drain into the bowl, and at a certain level the float will stop. And once the float stops, it'll get to a certain point, the float will stop and the fuel will stop leaking in there, and then we will go ahead and measure using this gauge the difference between the body and the lines. There should be 3 millimeters difference. For that, we are also going to go ahead and plug one end so that the fuel doesn't leak out, because this particular body, it's hard to see. As you can, okay, this part here goes right through. It's carburetor number 2. So we'll plug one end so the fuel will go in through this open port here. Alright, so here's what the setup looks like. We'll be putting gas in this end. This end is plugged, and we will be using this part here to measure. I'm going to be putting the gasoline in using this 30cc syringe. It holds 50, so I'll have to put it in twice, and then we'll show you the results. Bottom of the bowl, so that we now know that the float is adjusted correctly. Is that the carburetors fit within each itself within this little spring mechanism. So this carburetor here arm fits into this particular socket. Of course, the adjusters are here. We are also looking at the specific arm. There's a couple of items that actually get screwed to the tops of the carburetors. This item here, which will support one of the cables, the same as this particular item gets screwed into the top and will support the cable. And what will happen when the cable is pulled, then of course all of the chokes will be released at one time. So it's important that this works in unison, and we also want to make sure that all of our adjustments work at the same time. And although we can't see it right here, there's an adjustment that works on the idle screw. If we flip this guy over, we see that this is him. So by turning this knob, we increase the idle speed of the carburetors. So this set is completely rebuilt. I will be putting it on my bike. I will adjust it, and then I will put it on